I want to share a video with you that's talking about the slave Bible, and then I will come back and talk with you.
Inside Washington's Museum of the Bible, a single volume that is like no other. The so-called Slave Bible. Remarkable not for what's in it, but for what's not. So about 90% of the Old Testament's been removed and about 50% of the New Testament's been removed. To put it another way, a normal King James Version has 1,189 chapters in it. The Slave Bible has only 232. Missing are chapters and verses that might have encouraged uprisings. Book of Exodus, redacted. No story of Moses demanding Pharaoh, let my people go. Gone is Galatians, and the verse, there is neither bond nor free, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. And no Jeremiah, woe unto him that useth his neighbor's service without wages. What they've left in are verses such as Ephesians 6:5, which is the famous verse, slaves, be obedient to your master. Looking at this Bible, it's hard to tell that anything's been taken out of it. That's correct. I mean, it looks like a normal book. For many enslaved Africans, this would have been the first time they were exposed to the Bible. A Bible selectively edited to instill obedience, using religion to underpin the horror of slavery. When people encounter this exhibit, what lasting impression do you want them to leave with?
But we want to pass the message on that may this never happen again. The Bible itself is a whole book. It's not one that you get to carve up and use this piece or that piece.
The Slave Bible designed to repress rebellion, but it didn't work. Enslaved people in the Caribbean constantly fought against slavery until emancipation.
I think it's very relevant to understand our history, not just American history, but our African American history, our roots, and how we got to this point.
A dark chapter in the history of the good book. Jeff Bennett, NBC News, Washington.
As you can see in that video that we just watched, they talked about the slave Bible and how certain parts of the Bible was taken out in order to preach to the slaves that this is something that God wants. That is why so many Black people was believing that Christianity was a white man's religion. This video doesn't surprise me, it doesn't shock me, and it doesn't anger me. The reason why is because I have been speaking about this in different videos throughout the years, that Christianity is not a white man's religion. And I'm happy that more people are seeing that, hey, there was actually a Bible that things was taken out of in order for evil people to be able to carry on what they wanted. The word black was created by white men. That's why when you read the Bible, you do not see black people, because that's not a word that God created to describe his people. And once you understand that, you would see that throughout the Bible, when you have an actual Bible, you would see throughout the Bible that it talks about Black people. It talks about the origins of where the earth took, the form of the earth took place. That is not in European, so therefore, why would a European, everything you know about the white man, everything you know about how he hated Black people, why would he create a book that life started in Africa? Then when science comes, science backed that up, showing that the first human beings was created in Africa was Black people. So God created Black people in Africa. And so even though it wasn't called religion, it was more of a relationship that God had with Adam and Eve. It was still them obeying God. So technically you could say that was the first religion. That was the first people of God, Adam and Eve. And as I have said in other videos, that God truth will always come out. Truth will always stand. Truth can stand on its own. So the more that you see that you have been lied to, the Bible itself has been whitewashed and bastardized. When you see that, hopefully that will open your eyes and also encourage you to read and study the Bible for yourself so you can get the true understanding of that religion. So you also see a lot of people saying that Christianity is not the religion of African people. In reality, it is. Christianity basically was the first religion, if you really think about it, because if God and Jesus are one. God, Jesus is the Word. Jesus said, before there was Abraham, I am. Before there was Abraham. So he was there with God when the world was created. Jesus did not come to create a new religion. Jesus is God in man form, and he came to fulfill the law, not create a new religion. So everything we're learning as Christian came from God. Jesus and God is one. So Christianity is not a new religion. It may be called Christianity based on them, in the Bible, they started following the teachings of Jesus. So they was identified as Christians, but it's the same religion that God initially started with, if you really think about it. So the one true religion is Christianity. Christianity and life started in Africa. So therefore, that is the religion of your ancestors. And it's shown in the Bible of the prophets and different people, different religious people and different people in the Bible were Black people. And so when they got that Bible, because they knew how to read, the slave owners, they seen what it was saying, and that's why they had to take it out. Because if you think about it, if this was something they created, why would they have to take out words? Why would they have to take out chapters? Why would they have to change anything if this was a religion that was created and put them in the power position? They was never in the power position, because they are evil and they followed their father, which is Satan. They did evil things and they used the Bible in order to do it, making a lot of Black people hate the Bible because they felt that, and also hate God because they believed the lie that the slave master told them. Because when you read the Bible itself in Deuteronomy 4:2, Deuteronomy 12:32, and Revelation 22:18 through 19, it speaks about do not add anything to these words and do not take anything away from these words. The Bible itself, everything that was written in the Bible was inspired by God. And if you read Revelations 22:18 through 19 ESV, it states, I warn everyone who hears the word of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, God will add to him the plagues described in this book. And if anyone takes away from the word of the book of the prophecy, God will take away his share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this book. So why would they put that warning in the Bible if they created the Bible? The white men created the Bible. Why would they put these in the Bible? Like I said, it's in Deuteronomy 4:2, Deuteronomy 12:32, and also Revelations 22:18 through 19. If they're going to then go back and take things out of the Bible. That's why I keep saying that, and I have always said the Bible is a complete book. The Bible is finished. And this is why I said that the worst thing that has happened to the Black community, as well as Black people, especially young Black men and Black men in the whole, is Black churches in the Black neighborhood. And the reason why I said that, and I have done videos about that, is because, like I said, the person who taught the Black man how to read was the white man. He's teaching him how to preach to his people through a Bible that passages have been taken out of. So they're not getting the full word of God or the full understanding of God. They're getting what the slave owner, the white man, wanted them to get. So now here you have a Black preacher reading from a Bible that's not whole, reading from a Bible that has been, things have been taken out of, not giving them the full religion of what Christianity is. And so after slavery was over, they're still teaching them the same way. So when these Black people are going to church, they're being taught, they're reading the same scriptures, the same passages that they was taught from the slave owners. When you read Luke 6:40, it states, a disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher. So these black pastors that left, was freed from slavery, they're still like their teacher. They're still like the ones who taught them how to read and preach from the Bible. When you look at what's going on today when it comes to prosperity preaching, or when you see all these preachers, they're just basically talking about money, trying to get money, trying to get money, or they're talking about false healing, how they can heal people, how they can do this, how they can break all these chains, how God is talking to them directly, how God is giving them a new religion. I did a video about Oral Roberts. Well, I did a video, and incorporated in that video was about Oral Roberts. He kind of started that. He has a school, a college. And so a lot of people, black and white, went to his college. And because of him, they came out not preaching the true gospel of God, not preaching the true what's really in the Bible that's going to free you as an individual. Because if you read the Bible is a book. You know how you may have heard people say that, there's no book to life, there's no instruction on how to live life, you just more or less have to figure it out. That's not true. When you read the Bible, I have read the Bible 3 times in my whole life, from cover to cover. Other times I have tried, but I would skip around or I would stop. But 3 times I have read the Bible, starting with Genesis, reading it straight through all the way to Revelation. The Bible is a complete book on how you should live your life. God being God, he gave us a manual to how to live life successfully. That is called the Bible. Everything you can think of is in that Bible. How to interact with your parents, how to be a good parent, how children should interact with their parents, how you're going to interact with people that you work for, that you work with, how you're going to do business with people. Don't be a scammer. That's in the Bible. It talks about always doing the right thing. That's in the Bible. It talks about don't try to take advantage of people, don't use people, don't try to manipulate people. That's all in the Bible. It talks about money management, being a good steward to your money. All that's in the Bible. It talks about how you should dress as a woman, how you should dress as a man, how you should carry yourself. It talks about everything is in the Bible, from the cradle to the grave is in the Bible, of how to live the life. And so as a preacher, a pastor in a church, everything that's in that Bible, they're supposed to be talking about it in church, but they don't. They're not supposed to just focus on one subject, because the Bible is not just about one subject. But a lot of times they do. And the subject they focus on is give me your money. Give me your money. You have to give money to the church. Give money to the church. They don't talk about you shouldn't be out there fornicating. They don't talk about you shouldn't be out there stealing and scamming people, because that's what they're doing. They don't talk about being a good steward to your money, learning how to budget, how to save your money. They don't talk about none of that. They don't talk about you shouldn't be sleeping outside of your marriage, because they're also doing that. They don't talk about how you should, children respecting their parents, parents respecting their children, how you have a unity, how men and wives supposed to be like this. They're one. They're no longer two. Once they get married, they're one. They don't talk about all that. They don't talk about how to grow, how to scale, how to better yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. They don't talk about none of that. But all that is in the Bible. And they're supposed to be teachers. Jesus was a good teacher. And so that's what they're supposed to be doing. But like I said, the preachers that we have now, they kind of came from Oral Roberts. Like I said, first it started with them getting the Bible and bastardizing it, and then giving it to the slave. And then the preachers that taught that came out of slavery teaching the same thing, because that the what they was teaching you how to be subservient, submission. God taught you about being powerful. God taught you about being confident. God talked about holding your head up high and moving in a way that's going to please Him. He taught you to be, you're supposed to be like Jesus. Jesus wasn't a weak person. Jesus wasn't, going around broke, poor, and all this, but that's what they teach you, in the Bible, because that's how they want you. Because as long as they have you in that position, they can use you and control you. And so when, like I said, when they got to Oral Roberts, that's what he was teaching them in his college: how to keep people subservient, how to keep people down, how to get money from them. They're just a bunch of fleecers. And that's all they do is go around fleecing their congregation out of money, but they never empower them. Jesus was all about empowering. That's why when he left, his disciples was able to go on and exorcise demons out of people. They was able to go on and heal people. Everything that he was able to do on this earth, when he left them with his power. He said, I'm giving you my name so you can do the same thing I'm doing. These pastors and preachers and bishops, they don't want you on that level of as them. That's why they're not teaching you the Bible. They're just teaching you, giving you enough to get you excited, but keep coming back to them. They don't turn you to God, they turn you away from God. And so it's just a situation that continued from slavery to what we have now. And I'm glad this is coming out about this Bible, because maybe that will open your eyes as Black people to understand that Christianity is your religion. Christianity is the religion of the ancestors from Africa. If you read the Bible, you will see that. Read and study the Bible yourself. Because if you run into these people that's going around conning and fleecing and doing all that, they're going to turn you away from God. They're going to turn you away from the Bible. And they're going to turn you and have you thinking that this is not my religion. This is the quote unquote the white man religion. When everything in the Bible show you that it's not the white man's religion. Because like I said, if it is, why would they have to take things out of the Bible in order to make you subservient? If it started out to be being their religion, because it's not and it wasn't. And so just make sure that you read and study the Bible for yourself. I cannot stop reiterating that, because it's very important, especially for Black men, to know who you are, whose you are, and where you come from, so you can stand firmly on the religion of Christianity and be the man that God expects you to be the man that God wants you to be a man in a power position. That's why he put you the head of the household. That's why he put you in that position to take care of your family. That's why he said a man who finds a wife is a blessing to him to find a good wife, because he put the woman there to help you. So when you come together as one, that makes you more powerful. But you see, they don't want unity when it comes to men and women becoming husband and wife. All they want to do is destroy the family, because they know that takes your power away from you. This is something that you have to understand. Like I said, me hearing this, for me, it's not a surprise. It's not a shock, because this is something that I have always been talking about. They took the religion, they took things out in order to use it against you. They whitewashed the Bible, they bastardized the Bible. But when you read it for yourself, when you study it for yourself, you will see the true meaning of the Bible, and also pray for discernment as you're reading the Bible. And so I just want to share that with you. My name is Delmarshae. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.